Hello, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Hello, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Oh my goodness, what a morning it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
And our subject today is about unraveling patterns, right?
Yeah, how deep can we go?
Yeah. How deep can we go? We're going pretty deep so far, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny too because it's like I'm not unraveling these patterns are unraveling me.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah.
And so true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This week's definitely been so revealing for me, and I know so many people I've been talking to, including you. It's kind of like we're learning to sit back and get comfortable in the midst of all of this discomfort, watching all of it just unravel itself. Really, there's not a lot of work. It's more of a release and a surrender for me.
I can so relate to that. And just to give, our listeners a little bit of sort of like an update about what we're talking about, both of us have been going through some physical, emotional, spiritual, energetic shifts that really feel, wow. How would you describe how it feels, Sarah?
It's like pretty painful.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like messy. It feels messy. It feels constricting. Like it feels
Mm-hmm.
like I know I've literally the physical symptoms I've had are some pressure in my head, some tightness through my neck and upper back, and a lot of just like kind of tired in general. It's taking a
Mm-hmm.
lot more energy to just do things that normally would be so easy. Like I love going for runs, and
Mm-hmm.
now this week it's been like short walks, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it feels like, and then also in the mental and emotional, it feels like my mind is almost competing for space. I'm watching a lot of old thought forms come up, and luckily I have practices where I'm able to not hook into them and take them too far down. But it's fast. It feels fast paced too. I don't know if you feel that
Mm-hmm.
either, but it's like my physical energy is slowed down, but my mental
Mm-hmm.
and emotional energy has felt heightened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I can so relate to that. When I went through that this weekend, it just pretty much laid me out, for a couple of days, where my physical body was just not wanting to move, and I could feel like, there was so much going on in my brain area
Mm-hmm.
where it's like I felt like my brain was being cracked open, and it was just all of this almost like oozing out of the old, like some old stuff, and I was like, I don't even know what's leaving. I just get the feeling that these are like just old toxic patterns that were embedded into my system, just for my lineage, um and and then it was like almost like a download and a swirl of like higher frequency or light, or just something that felt like I knew there was something else coming in or soothing it, but it didn't make it feel any better during the time. So
Yeah.
I just, I want to share with the listeners, like, hey, this month is such an intense month. You might feel a, like a purge of some kind, or some symptoms come up, or maybe is us,
Yeah. I
but
mean, we're pretty in it.
maybe
Yeah.
yeah, we're in it, but maybe for you it might be a little more subtle. Maybe you might get a little rash that you haven't had, or like, something
Like
that comes
muscle
up for
cramps,
you. Muscle cramps,
Yeah.
yeah, or like an old injury gets flared up, or
Yeah.
inflammation. Like it just shows up, I think, differently all the time. But then again, there are similarities. Like talking to you was so incredible, because then I realized, like, wow, okay, this kind of sounds the same. you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, I mean, that's been so huge for me this week. I've been having like hours of conversations with other women who are going through this because it's a sanity check. It's like keeping me
Mm-hmm.
aware of the fact that, yes, this is such a personal experience. And while nobody else has my exact symptoms or my exact
Mm-hmm.
stories or patterns, it is relatable, you know, like if it's not on the most intense level, even in subtle ways. Like I know that some of the storylines that have been manifesting for me, it's really interesting when I talk to my friends, their storylines are so paralleled, but our lives are so different. And it's funny how these patterns are revealing themselves in our lives simultaneously, but in their own way. So yeah, I think it's so important to like stay connected to a community, whether it's listening to these podcasts or, you know, talking to friends about what you're going through, so that you don't get caught up in thinking something's like really wrong. Because I think that's part of the medicine, is to trust that this is just part of the process. And I think we talked about that, like not trying to quick fix the symptoms, especially the physical symptoms, like the headaches. For me, it's like that actually is just a call to slow down and really like slow down my mind and do less and drink more water, rather than taking an Advil or something to help alleviate that pain immediately.
Yeah, there's something so much to be said about that. Like in a way, it's kind of like respecting the pain as it's going through you. So understanding that it's releasing something, and it's not just the physical pain that it's like being released. It's like there's something that goes with it. There's something underlying, you know, that's part of that is the trigger for the pain, you know. And I think we think of pain as like our ultimate enemy, right? But sometimes it's okay to be with it. And you know, we live in a culture where pain is unacceptable, but so many people are in pain so often. And I think one of the reasons is because we don't know as a culture how to sit with our pain. And I think that's such a powerful tool to be able to do, because when you sit with it, and you honor it, and you're not making it go away like really fast, you're actually honoring it, and it actually starts to dissipate when you just sit with it. You know, it's like if you're always running from the pain, it will never go away. You might get distracted, but it's always going to be chasing your tail. So I'd rather just sit with it and work through it so I can have a great day or great life, you know?
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, as an astrologer, like that's definitely part of the medicine right now, is to focus on the long-term game. Like, I know I went back and listened to our podcast from the beginning of the month, and we talked about this, and I didn't even realize it, but it's so true that right now it's like we're detoxing a lot of patterns, and we're having this moment of seeing so clearly. It's like, I haven't done this in forever. I haven't seen this thought in forever. I haven't, you know, been triggered like this in so long. And so when you choose to see it and then not feed it, then you have this, what's called like that detox, right? Because you've been doing this pattern for years. Even if you stopped in the last year or two, before that, you were doing it for years. So it's like deeply embedded in us. So when it comes up and we choose to not feed it, we're going to have a little bit of a burn, you know, like, because it used to give us some relief of that ego pain, of that, you know, that pain of that misunderstanding, really. And so for me, like, it's been sitting in those fires, like you're talking about, like sitting in it and then leaning in a little bit closer rather than trying to run away from it, because that's like quicksand. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am caught so quickly if I try to act like, oh, I'll just reframe this, it's no big deal, or no, I don't have this problem anymore, I'll just like ignore this. It's like, boom, it comes on harder and the headache gets worse, and I'm like, damn it, okay. Like,
no, it's so true. I can totally relate to that. I just, I can't outrun these things, so I've learned to just work with them as they come up and honor them, because they're also here. They're also here to relieve me and us and all of us of this underlying current, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you can handle a small current of pain for over a long period of time, but what if just sitting with it could release like so much of it, you know?
I think
What
it
if that?
does. I think that that's what, I mean, that's been my greatest healing journey so far, is learning how to sit with discomfort, you know, like learning how to stay and feel something, because it's just energy. And when you start to find the neutrality in your perspective of what's coming up, the space to just like welcome it, there's this inner strength that you cultivate. Because when something comes up and we're afraid of it, and we try to prove our strength by all the ways we go about doing it is like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to walk away from it, like just completely change where I'm at and what I'm doing. Maybe I'll just get rid of this partner or this, I'll just quit this job, you know, like quick fix it. The truth is we're not proving any strength. We're actually feeding the part of us that's afraid of what that pain means, of what that's bringing up. We think it has some kind of threat to our system. And the only way to really show strength or fearlessness is to just sit with it, to be like, I know that this won't kill me. Like, I know that I'm strong enough to sit with this, and that it doesn't define me, that it doesn't change the truth of who I am, and it doesn't have power over me. Like, it's not moving me. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh, so beautifully, eloquently said. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's just divine. Yeah, and so maybe we could share with people, like, you know, how different tools that we use so that, you know, sit with this if it's coming up for them at any time this month. It's a wonderful opportunity of this month, or at any time in our life when things come up, because life is just not, you know, it's full of wonderful opportunities.
Yeah, this rides for the long haul.
Yeah. It's full of wonderful. It's not like all of a sudden we plateau and then we're riding on a carpet into the abyss. Like, I wish, right?
No.
So we're here for, you know, it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, but that's also something I think that we should like highlight, that this eclipse cycle is giving us the opportunity to develop these tools. And we can really use that, because think about it, like this is like long game stuff. Like you said, when this comes up again, if you can face what's coming up now at the intensity it's coming up, imagine the next time someone cuts you off in traffic. It's like no big deal, because I just sat through I just pretty much went to hell and back, and I'm good. Like, that's not gonna get me and sway me, you know.
It's so beautiful. It's so true, because like it's like you're building your stamina for life.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you're building
life's
inner
not gonna
strength.
just, yeah, I mean, like, we can do all the positive thinking in the world and life does get better, but that doesn't mean that obstacles aren't still gonna approach us, right? So what are some tools that you use that you could share with the listeners, you know, that they could apply in their life to help with, you know, when things come up, when they're not feeling so hot, when they're feeling unsettled and they just want to go run away from it all?
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
Something that's been really helpful for me is always, like right now especially, is really holding whatever my deeper intention, not just for like today or my work project this week, but my core values, I guess, and what am I in service of always. I have to keep that really close. I have to keep close who I know that I want to be, like who am I deciding to be. So then I have some kind of reference point of like what's not aligned to that. And then for me, it's I have to listen to teachers. Like sometimes in these moments, the biggest part is just admitting I'm a student to this. And even though I've been here before, even though I have the tools and I know what to do, really going to the things that help me, that educate my mind and feed my higher mind. So I know like Pema Chodron and Tara Brach, those are great like meditation teachers. And one thing that is really, there's like this 4R practice actually that Pema Chodron talks about. And it's, first of all, it's recognize. So you recognize an old habit, you recognize an old pattern, you recognize, oh, here's that thing that usually gets to me and I'm willing to work with it. So you name it. And then you decide that you're not going to do it. So I think it's resist, like recognize, resist, or restrain yourself from kicking that wheel, from going back down that pattern. And then you're not going to do it. You've already decided, you named it, you're not going to do it. So the third R is you might as well relax. So taking some deep breaths, coming back to the present moment, and then you decide that you're going to do it again and again and again. Like you resolve to just keep practicing, to keep changing that direction of that pattern.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that. I'm definitely going to check that out. I got so relaxed just listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels good. I mean, but you know, those tools we do need to have a, you know, toolbox. I always love having a toolbox, and I have tons of tools in there. But I love learning new tools because, like, you know, you want to learn new ones and trade them out and try new things. And yeah, it's so beautiful. And I think what you said too is like, yes, we are eternally students, you know, and we are also teachers, right? So we're both, and it's interchangeable all the times, you know, especially like with relationships. Like somebody will come into your life and be a teacher, and someone else might come and be a student, but we're also interchanging all the time. I think with the energy as a teacher, we're a student, right? And then we master that. So we work with everything.
Yeah.
We're always working with it in that capacity.
Yeah, I mean, keeping an open mind, and I think this is kind of true too, is like having enough self-love to have humility. Because if you don't have a foundation of self-love and self-compassion, humility just turns into inner critic and, you know, that shame or guilt spiral that really is unhelpful. But I think, you know, having connections to people who remind you of, you know, the truth of who you are, who give you that loving kindness, who have that support, who mirror that back to you, so that you can have the space to say like, oh yeah, I'm doing that thing I do, with a little bit lightness and not so much. It can become so daunting, you know, like, because like you said, it's like we think we've mastered it. We think we've arrived. We think we've up leveled to teacher. And that mindset is actually what can harm us in this kind of experience that's been happening.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always humbled by the universe as it throws me something new. or I realize, like, you know, over the past few days, like I just realized like, oh, this pattern came up I was so unaware of, but I know how much it's been affecting me, you know, on some level. And but it's interesting because like as this unraveling, you know, has started, like I'm also more open to seeing the patterns, like where I would maybe get a little defensive or be like, there's not a pattern, you know, like, you know, so I mean, you know, it's a beautiful thing because it kind of softened me up.
Yeah.
It mushed me up, put me in a blender.
But I think that's a testament too to your growth and your confidence in your growth. And I think that that's been something, now that you say that, that's totally been helping me as well, is like there's this foundation that wasn't there a year ago that is like, no matter what's coming up right now, there's something inside of me that's like, I know who I am, you know, like I know what I've been through and how far I've come, and I'm not as scared of this discomfort. I'm not as afraid of facing these things that are coming in. I mean, granted, there's definitely something to be said for like, it's sometimes compassionate to put the work down. And I think that's also been some medicine. Is for me, I'm somebody who I can just get so into it that it becomes all consuming if I don't recognize that life is still happening, you know, like we're still in today, and how do you stay present? And I think that's where like conversations with people, going on walks in nature, like something to remind yourself that this is not the whole world right now, you know.
It's not the whole enchilada.
Not the whole enchilada.
just one slice, baby.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
Oh yeah. So, and today I'm just starting to eat food now for the first time. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, like ease yourself back into reality.
Easing it back in. I was like, I need a little bit of grounding today.
Yeah.
You know, just a little bit of grounding. But you know, even though it felt like hellacious. I would say like I'm so grateful that this happened. I wouldn't say that like right when I'm in it, you know, but coming out of it and seeing how I'm still going through it. It's still unraveling, and this whole month I know it just softened, it like tenderized me to get even deeper with it, right? As we said. But the first initial like wham, which I felt, you know, I'm grateful. I'm humbled by it, you know. It's a reminder like we're not always the one going to be running the show sometimes. Like we're, you know, the universe or whatever is just going to come in sometimes and just say, hey, my turn, I'm taking over. And I'll be like, okie dokie, do your thing, because I'm just gonna I surrender, you know. I surrender. And I think that's the next thing we're going to talk about, is like the power of surrender in these moments of, you know, maybe crisis or
chaos,
doubt, or, you know, whatever is going on, like surrendering to trusting, right? Trusting the higher power.
Exactly. I think that's what I was going to say too, or I thought of when you were talking about it, is it's like in these moments we're forced to step back and say, it's not in my control. Like because the more and more you try to apply the control or the tactics that have made, like the force tactics that have maybe worked for you before, like I feel like that's just running you into circles and causing, you know, more chaos. It's just stirring it even harsher. It's just resistance. And so literally we're being forced to surrender. And the quicker you acknowledge that and embrace that, and then you see it in the way of, oh yeah, like it's not all up to me, and that's a beautiful thing. Like it's not against me. It's not here to beat me up. It's here to say, like, put down all this stuff you're carrying. Like life is like, let me help you. You don't have to do it all. You can't do it all. And yeah, like that's the beauty of being forced to surrender, right? It's like it's a reminder that maybe we get a little ahead of ourselves. Maybe we get a little bit ahead of, you know, the universe. We think that we know best. And yeah, it's going to come in and like rip that out of us and say, no, child, like I created you, you know, like you think you can do better than me? Okay. Like it's not going to work. And that's like, I keep saying to myself this week, I'm not God, thank God, you know, like get out of your own way.
So I love that. Child, do you think you can do better than me? That made me laugh. I mean, I love that, because I think sometimes men, you know, you mean humanity, right. You know, people like us people, we think we can outdo the divine creator, you know, and I see that, you know, especially like with all of the technology, some technologies and things like that, and I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Like really, like we're not here to battle creator. Okay.
I mean, good luck if you're
creator.
trying this week.
Good luck.
I don't know what kind of symptoms you're gonna have, because I said I surrender and I still have the symptoms. So I'm just like, let me know how that goes for you, please.
Yeah, let me know. Keep me posted.
I mean, and that's what I think is so funny, is it's like good. You can't strong arm energy right now or anything. You're gonna arm wrestle the universe. Like how funny of an image is that, though? I honestly just saw the vision of it, and my spirit guides are like laughing hilariously. They're just like, "What are you doing?" You know?
Yeah. That's so funny to me. I can't stop laughing. Like it's just such a funny thought. But it's such a funny thought that like some of us out here think that can happen, you know. And I just have to laugh, because it is so hilarious. It's so funny.
Yeah. I was also going to say too that something my guides keep telling me too is that yes, in this moment we're in this just like, it feels kind of like hell. I mean, honestly, it's just like these waves that just like take you under, you know, and then you come back up and take you under. But on the other side of this, when we have such deep, deep cleansing and unraveling, it's like the clarity that comes from that on the other side of it is so huge. And I think the death is significant. The bigger the death, you know, the more liberating that rebirth is going to be. So the more you let it like clean you out, the deeper you go, or you let it take you, the higher, you know, will come out of it.
I love that. I love that so much. And I'm such a testament to that, you know, and I really, really, really believe it. My trust has gotten so much bigger after what would be considered like like tragedy or illness. Right. And going through my explant surgery and being hit with the blow of losing my health completely and feeling like I was like a breath away from death, you know, and then I had no choice but to surrender. Like, okay, I have like, this is it. I will do whatever it takes. Like, whatever you want me to do, I'm in. And not only that, I'll talk about this afterwards because I feel such an obligation to share, you know. It's not like I want to talk about this all the time, but it's just like I felt so much gratitude that I had this, like, that the creator took me up and gave me this chance to you know, like, renew myself. And I was so renewed from the inside out. Like, I felt like a new person. Like, I didn't even feel like the person I was ever before. I felt like a brand new person. And I struggled and fought and be like, I don't want to do this, and you know, a lot of people in my situation have vanity issues, like with you know, like with the implants and stuff. Like, I don't. And I'm like, do whatever you need to do. Like, let's just do this, right? I was like, I'll be happy to be the spokesperson for this, you know? Like, and I felt such grace. Like, I've never felt that much grace in my life. You wouldn't think that this would bring about, like, tragedy sometimes brings about such grace, or I don't know if it's like tragedy, but like cathartic situations that you feel at the moment. You may feel so helpless, and then really surrendering makes you feel like, oh goody, someone's taking care of me, called the universe.
Well, because I think what it does is it removes the ground from beneath you, and it takes away all of the things that were for show. And like death, you know, severe illness, sometimes really intense breakups, or, you know, these major changes, unexpected changes, whether it's like losing a job or whatever it is. It's like when you're at that point where you feel so lost, you feel like there's nothing to hold on to, that's when you have the clarity to see clearly what's real and like what actually matters. And you give up the bullshit. You give, like, you're like, you realize what matters, and it's like vanity. How about my life? You know, like that's what's happening right now is it's like, that's eclipse season.
How about my life?
That's Pluto. That's eclipse season. And that's where we're at right now. The universe is just, it's purifying us. You know what I mean? It's like, get clear on what is real and like what matters and what has lasting value. Not what are you gonna like show your neighbor your new car. Like, that doesn't matter. You know, like we can't leave with any of that.
So true. It's so true what you're saying, and I'm just like, yes. I mean, it's so true. I can't believe the crystal clarity that comes with these situations. Yeah, you realize, like, what matters is real connections with people. What matters is, what are you creating in your life? What matters is, who are you being? What matters is, do you have your health, you know? And then also, like, the quality of life, right? Where before I was like compromising like a lot, living in a city and being stressed out, and now wanting to be a country bumpkin, like in the forest, you know, a forest nymph. You know, just, you know, just for me, like, it just shifts so much. And I think there's so much beauty. It's like the gems that we have inside of us, it's like all of a sudden they get shined, and like not just shined, but like cut to perfection. And we can see them with such clarity, and they're beautiful, and they're telling us what they want, what they need. for us to do and to be. And all we have to do is listen. Like, okay, I am at the service of, for me, it's like I'm at the service of the divine. Tell me what to do. I'll do it,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and that feeling is like, wow, I've been like in my mind for so long, like I need to do this and I need to do this and then and it's like that's such a burden. I'd rather just be at the feet of the divine and in surrender and, you know, tell me what to do. And so now what I say is like, show me. Like, show me what you want me to do next. Show me, because I have all these ideas and, you know, my ego can take me in a different direction. Show me with crystal clarity so I can know and I'll follow that, you know? And that's how I'm starting to work with the universe now, is like, show me what I should do. Show me, you know, this or that. And I think I'm asking, right? So I think the other thing is like, we need to start asking for guidance, asking to be shown. You know, my ego can take me all over the place. And, you know, at the end of the day, like my ego has dragged me down some really, you know, some places like I'm like, why'd you take me there?
Yeah, you think
like,
you know why you're going, you know? And then you get there and you're just like, why am I here? This doesn't mean shit to me and I don't care about this, and now I'm stuck here.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
exactly.
what if like what's happening right now is preventing you from making that mistake? Like what feels like what's being withheld or blocked, it's like if you could zoom out and see from the point of view that you and I are talking about. I also have the gift of, I don't know if it's I think it's a combination of, you know, my soul and the co-creation with my guides in the universe. It's like if I get 4 steps ahead of the path I thought, if I try to get ahead of the path at all, if I'm like, ooh, okay, you led me here, now let me take it somewhere, it's like I will get hard stopped and rerouted so fast. Like the universe is so quick to tell me, to put me in my place, and that's a blessing. But it's been a learning process, you know, like the first time that happens, the first time that your plans are ripped out of your hands, I mean, that's not easy. So I have authentic compassion for anybody who feels like they're going through that right now, because I've been there more than once. And I am just at the point now where I know that this is the astrology of what's here. I know that this is the energy. And I know that the only way to get through it with any kind of sanity and grace is to surrender, is to completely surrender and to give it all back, to say, it's not about me. And I give up my need to make it about me, you know? And then all of a sudden it's purifying on so many ways.
Wow. So it's such a good feeling to even just talk about this, because it feels so good. It feels so good to just have a mindset of surrender, and to know that the feeling that washes over you, this cleansing feeling of almost like light illuminating through you, you know, in this surrender, when you choose to surrender, it's like, I mean, how would you describe the feeling that comes through once you actually say, okay, I totally surrender now?
I literally feel like the energy that was percolating in circles around my mind, it's like this wave of just drop. It drops all the way like a blanket that lays down over my body. And it's like the fists of my mind release their grip and they open. And I'm just, I don't know. It's like I go from running or like pushing to like just resting. You know, I feel like I'm like, I sit back.
That's so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And, you know, as far as like astrology goes and where we are today, would you like to add in like maybe where we are astrologically today and what may be going on at this particular juncture?
Yeah, definitely. Today there is some help. We have some good astrology coming in. We have Venus trining over to Uranus. Venus just moved into Virgo. So this is an Earth trine happening. And I think it's really like this energy of reinventing different patterns in relationships. And it seems like it's in a really practical way, right? Because it's in the earth. It's recreating our vision of what is beautiful, of what matters, of what we value. I think it comes back to what we just talked about, you know, like when everything's lost, it's suddenly like, oh yeah, what does success actually mean? And what actually matters? I think there is support today for you to see that and to start coming back to focusing your intention on working with that, you know, on like serving that versus, you know, your self-importance of the moment, of the relationship, like wanting this relationship to work more than the bigger picture, right? Of like, do I want something that's actually authentic? And the truth is if something's right for you, it should never be forced. It just works. Like what works, what's meant to be works. So I think today there's like a grace of this conversation of surrendering, of being in conversation with people who remain elevated in the heart sense, you know, like can bring us back to remembering the bigger picture, and just getting clear on like what we value and what matters seems really good. And then obviously like we're having the solar eclipse tomorrow, so I mean at the same and simultaneously all bets are off, you know. We're in the dark moon phase. We're at a balsamic moon in Cancer. It's very emotional. It's a lot of release. It's a good time to really create space to go inward. And if you could do like a writing exercise almost to invoke the power of Pluto, it's like, if I could do anything, I would want it to be in service of what? Like who beyond yourself do you want to make an impact on? What kind of difference do you want to make in the world, not just in your life? So if you could give all of what you have away, what would you want it to be in service of?
Oh, wow, that's a beautiful exercise. I just wrote that down because I'm definitely going to be doing that today.
Yeah, I mean, Pluto is power, and I think we're in this place of like we can make such long-lasting, deep changes and impacts, you know, in our life and just the ripple effect in the world. And we're really at this point where it's time to elevate your ideals. It's time to elevate your goals, your intentions, your work, your relationships. Like, what is it in service of? It has to be bigger than you, or else you'll need to find a cold towel and a couch.
I love what is it in service of? Wow, that really got my imagination going. Beautiful. I mean, I just think it's so important to be reminded these things, and also to work with the astrology so that we can remember what we really want to be doing and what we want to be of service of and how we can contribute. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's like we are just here for, you know, a blip in time. And what we give is who we are when we leave, you know. We can't take any of it with us when we go. None of it goes with us. Just the beautiful memories and the feelings and the wonderful love. You know, love is truly all there is, and that's it. You know, love is all there is. That's it.
I think I read yesterday too, this just came to me real quick. Sacrifice, like the meaning of sacrifice is to make sacred. And so I think also we've been on this energy wave of authenticity, right? And expression and being true to yourself and self-expression. And I think that in order to make this commitment to yourself, to your authenticity, to being true to yourself, make it sacred. And in doing that, like, what are you ready to sacrifice in order to do that? So what groups approval, what patterns of you know, needing validation, of, you know, working really hard, making the money, like whatever it is, it's like, are you ready to sacrifice that in order to really make sacred this intention to just be real?
Yeah. Wow. I'm just taking this all in because it's such a beautiful reminder, as there's so much energy percolating and swirling and going on, it's nice to just ground into these thoughts and to be reminded and to know it's important to take a little bit of time, guys, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, and write down like the question that Sarah asked, which was, could you say that again? If I was to be in service.
Yeah, like if it wasn't just for me, what else could this be serving? Who else could this reach or have an impact on?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just making it bigger than
Beautiful.
ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that gives us, and for me, that gives me so much more motivation, right? So it's like, yeah, who am I really serving? It's just such a beautiful, everything about this conversation was beautiful. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on again. I just love chatting with you. We're so aligned and we could talk for eternity. So thanks for this. And listeners, thank you for joining us. We love and appreciate you. You're the best. We hope you enjoyed this show. I'll leave Sarah's link below. She's a evolutionary astrologer, so you can get a reading with her. If you'd like to learn more about Goddess Code Academy, I'll also leave a link below. So with that, enjoy and take good care of yourself. Sending out so much love.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Ciao for now.